audio for
all of us.
So.
Some of us were fine. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna reconvene into open session at 6:02. We have nothing to report out. There were no votes taken during closed session. If we could please stand for the flag salute. Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to, before we get started, before young ladies get started, I just want to introduce Marilyn Cook. She's going to be helping out here for the next few months until we get settled in our HR department. Marilyn is a very experienced HR assistant superintendent from Palo Alto and has also spent a lot of time in the Salinas area with different schools, Salinas Elementary, High School District, and now us. So we're really thrilled that she could join our team for even a little short time. So,
Good to be here.
yeah.
Welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just for the audience, I want to clarify that in just a minute, we're going to have 3.2, the Gavilan View student presentation, which was added to the agenda when it was amended. And after 5.0, we're actually going to move and do 10.0 before we then go on to 7.0. Just to clarify. All right, and so here we are at 3.2, Gavilan View student presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Ryan, representatives of the school board, family members, friends, and Santa Rita community supporters. My name is Camila Bernal, elected by my S2 peers as the 2019-2020 ASB president at Gavilan View Middle School.
And I'm Samantha Pamplon, elected by WISE classmates, the 2019-2020 ASB vice president at Gavilan View Middle School.
As representatives of our school, we are here to discuss its exciting activities, scholarly accomplishments, and remarkable people. Before we begin, please know that we treasure our time at Gavilan View and that this opportunity, sharing our experiences with all of you, further enriches the sentiment. We are both proud Hawks who appreciate all you do, not only for the students at Gavilan View, but also for every learner in Santa Rita Union Elementary School District.
To open, meet some of those remarkable people we mentioned earlier, beginning with our fearless leader, ASB president, Camila Bernal.
Our upbeat vice president, Samantha Pamplon.
Secretary, Mariela Zarate. Our diligent treasurer, Arturo Anaya. And let's not forget our dynamic spirit leader, Camila Mata.
And now, meet our grizzled veterans, the 8th grade officers. President Fernando Moran, Vice President Ariana Diaz, and Representative Leslie Castellon.
Our savvy 7th grade officers, President Regina Zarate, Vice President Alejandro Rosales, and Representative Milo.
And new to the flock, 6th grade officers. President Jorge Hernandez, Vice President Miguel Hernandez, and Representative Alexander Sevilla. We are sure that ASB Student Council is perfectly equipped with the maturity and impetuosity to represent GB throughout the year. Go Hawks!
To continue, ladies and gentlemen, did you know a group of Hawks is referred to as a cast? Our cast continues to grow. Please help us in welcoming our newest Hawks. Mrs. Sarah Parento, special education teacher. Ms. Roxanne Gill, 6th grade core and 7th grade social studies. Ms. Andrea Cortez, 6th grade core and ELD. And Mr. Jesus Romero, special education.
Hey Samantha, do you remember your first day of 6th grade?
No, not really.
Seriously, you don't? Well, I do, and my first day was pretty scary. Changing classes, teachers, and subjects. I get it now, but I thought, why can't I just have one teacher like I did in elementary school?
Yeah, middle school is a lot different. More teachers and more room numbers.
Well, now as an 8th grader, I get it. Life is like a box of chocolates and like school schedules. Sometimes you just never know what you're going to get or who's going to teach it. Well, thanks to Gavilan View holding 6th grade orientation Thursday, August 1st, more than 200 students and their parents got to feel a little more comfortable attending Gavilan View this fall. At the 6th grade orientation, in addition to getting important information from Ms. Koenig and Mr. Mushnick, parents received a presentation by Officer Lopez about campus security and got to tour the campus and meet some of their students' teachers. Newcomers were met by many of the ASB student body and were informed about the benefits of being part of GB, joining a leadership class, and running for sixth grade office. Helping to ease students transition from elementary to middle school, the event proved a rousing success.
New this year, Gavin View turned their first Middle Day, Wednesday, August 7th, into a Soaring for Success Day. Students stayed in their homerooms and participated in many activities geared to help them be successful. For example, students learned how to complete their time trackers, attended an assembly, participated in fire drills, did team building activities, walked around to all their classrooms, and went over Chromebook policies. Speaking of Chromebooks, later that afternoon, students and parents picked up Chromebooks between 1:15 and 3:15. Many classes had nearly 100% of their Chromebooks picked up. We are positive our students are off to a soaring success.
On Wednesday, August 21st, GB hosted its back to school night. It was standing room only to hear Ms. Koenig give a short presentation, then students escorted their families to classrooms to meet teachers. Although on a small scale, parents got to see what it's like to walk in their kids' shoes by attending all their classes.
Now that the school year is clearly underway and students are once more acclimating to the rigors of public education, we have begun our official Welcome Week. Welcome Week runs from Tuesday, August 27th through Friday, August 30th. During Welcome Week, each day is themed, and students and staff are encouraged to dress up in character according to the day's theme. Tuesday was High School Day, today was Aloha Day, tomorrow is Sports/Fandom Day, and Friday, we will finish out the week with Spirit Day. Welcome Week. During Welcome Week, students who dress the part participate in a friendly competition for pizza and pride.
We will have our first lunchtime dance of the year this Friday, August 30th, to end our Welcome Week celebration. DJ Sebastian will jam the latest tunes while students have fun dancing to the groove. Lunch dances are a great opportunity for students to come out and have building their hawk spirit. I'm sure we might even see Ms. Koenig out there showing off her moves and cheering students on.
This year's annual beach trip will be held on Friday, September 13th from 3:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at Del Monte Beach. Sand, sun, grub, and games will be the words of the day. We will be taking 220 students and chaperones this year. This always proves to be one of GB's most exciting venues of the year, and we would like to invite all of you to attend. We hope to see you there, but please don't forget your sunblock.
September 6th will bring us our 4th annual Club Rush, an opportunity for students to learn about and sign up for the various club offerings at Gathering View. During Club Rush, student choices will include fantasy football, chess, movies, jiu-jitsu, jazz band, board games, character counts, after-school Just Run Club, and much more. We thank the many teachers who take the time during lunch and after school to provide students the opportunity to engage in extracurricular activities and help make Gathering View that much more enjoyable.
Parent-Teacher Conference Week will run from September 16th through September 20th. Hundreds of parents flock to Gathering View, excited to hear how their children are doing. These conferences give teachers the opportunity to share student accomplishments. Teachers also share with parents AR 360 and STAR test results. Parents will leave knowing exactly where the child is academically, and we are sure they will be eager to support teachers in making not only their students, but Gathering View the best they can be.
Backed by popular demand, this September, Ms. Scaling and the music department will be hosting its great taco takeout dinner fundraiser. The entire music department will be selling taco dinners for $5. They are hoping to break last year's record and sell over 500 tickets that will definitely hit the perfect tune for raising money for the music program's stylish polo shirts. Each shirt is embroidered with the student's name, instrument of choice, and of course, the GB Hawk.
Last week marked the beginning of the fall sports season. We have over 200 student athletes eager to compete in volleyball, cross country, boys soccer, flag football, and fencing against schools all across Monterey County. Most importantly, against
Also knows.
We would like to encourage all of you to come out and support our Hawks, and we'll be posting a schedule soon as all the games have been scheduled. Mr. Flores is also starting the first SRUSD Elementary School Sports League. 4th and 5th grade boys and girls at each site are starting volleyball practices this week. Games will be played in the Gathering View gym. The elementary schools will then be playing basketball in winter and track in spring. We are very excited to be offering these after-school programs to our students.
Well, that about wraps things up for August and September, but since we won't see you back until December, we would like to mention just a few of our important activities coming up for the months of October and November.
6th grade science camp,
Parent Night Out Rec Night,
Blackout Bullying Week,
First Quarter Honorable Bingo, Gallen View Appreciation Day,
Fall Harvest Dance,
Turkey Trot.
and ASB volunteering at Dorothy Station.
We would like to acknowledge the ongoing accomplishments of the Hawks of yesteryear. The following students from Gallen View were selected into leadership programs at their respective high schools: Jacob Becerra, Laura Castro, Edgar Origen, Caitlin Francis, Valeria Gonzalez, and Madeline Dennis. Congratulations to them for their great achievements. Remember, at Gallen View, we work hard and play hard. Together we are a team.
Are there any questions?
Do you have the date on the taco fundraiser?
I was gonna think you-
Thank you, girls, for the presentation. We really appreciate it.
Great job.
Thank you.
Always enjoy their presentations. I really do.
They could induce their principals or parents, but that's.
That's That's right, we can introduce Mrs. Keenan. Yay, Mrs.
Sorry,
Keenan.
board members, these are the dates of the presentation. Thank you, ladies. I really appreciate it. Great job.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
You guys were just,
Ms. Koenig, I wanted to let you know, I was out at dinner last night and a woman came up to me and she's like, "Are you the starter?" And I said, "Yes." And she's like, "I teach at Gallen View and I have the best job ever. I'm sorry to interrupt your dinner, but I wanted to let you know." And I told her she could interrupt me anytime with news like that, but it was so cute.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, girls, you're welcome to leave. Thank you.
Yeah, you have a ride?
Great job.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not putting you on the street.
You're right.
Okay.
Yes, I'm not sure.
Thank you for being here.
Very good.
so much
Come back in here and come
confidence.
get me.
Yes.
Yes, so much.
confidence.
It took a lot here.
It was a great job, ladies.
Great job.
Bye, thanks.
Great job.
And Ms. Koenig, we do appreciate that your students are always prepared and wonderful when they come.
And play hard.
And play hard.
And they give me something to do.
So we're gonna go on to 4.0, consider approval of consent agenda. Can I have a motion?
I need to approve.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This is 5-0, we're all here. Yay. Okay, so we're gonna go on to 5.1, reports from district organizations, councils, or committees. Don't see anyone here to do a report. Okay. 5.2, report from school principals, directors, department staff, chief business officer. Ms. Koenig, because you're here, is there anything you wanted to pass along?
No, at GP, we're keeping 3 more kids, every day we're bringing in more kids, so enrollment every day is fine. Read tomorrow.
Well, we're grateful for all you do, and I hear only good things.
Thank you. Children check.
Ms. Cook, that throws it over to you, Marilyn.
I don't have a report.
You don't have a report, okay.
She's still trying to play
All right.
out her things. Welcome.
Over to Ms. Alden.
Well, I think probably our most exciting thing is we followed up the site visit to the school in USD with the TOSAs visiting last week. Nicole Jensen and I were with them. We went through and we saw some guided math in various grade levels. And so the TOSAs are each going to be choosing a couple of teachers at their site who will go over and do a site visit that they can help coach and work on making some transition in their classes, and that goes in sync with their principal's goals. And so they're really excited. We just had our TOSA meeting today, kind of talking about that again. So very excited about this new challenge, new role.
Okay, so, we're gonna go on to board reports, Mr. Sandoval.
I did speak quite a few parents, and a lot of people were pretty happy the way the school year starting off. They feel like there's a lot of excitement and smooth and stuff, so just want to invest in more. Great job, everyone.
Mr. Patel.
I attended the, also Knowles Back to School Night, very well attended. I was pleased to see so many of our parents out there participating and got to meet some great new teachers. And I think the overall is very much a success, you know, and that's what I've been hearing from a lot of parents is, just like you said, is, you know, it's been a great opening. There was one issue regarding the traffic. You know, I'm hearing a lot of calls about that on Roby. And, you know, I think over time, I think there can be solutions that can be worked out, you know, but overall, I've heard great things about the schools, especially with our district now. It's been pretty smooth. Thank you, Madam President.
Ms. Ariana.
Nothing today. I haven't gone any schools yet. With all 6 grandkids.
Okay, Ms. Kaiser.
No, I really have nothing.
Well, I have 2 things to report related to Santa Rita and also related to relatives of mine. My cousin Holly, who attended Santa Rita Schools kindergarten through 8th grade, was just named the Placer County Educator of the Year. So I thought that was a kudos to our district. She's a special education teacher in Roseville. And my cousin on the other side, who is a former national fencing champion. I hit her up when I was in New York if she would correspond with our fencing students, and she told me that she would, and she'd love to talk to them about her experiences. And she's still she still gets flown by USA Fencing all over the world to compete in her age group. So she was one of only 2 women in her age group that got sent to world championships from the United States last year. So I said, would you like to talk to some up and coming fencers? And so she was really excited about that. In her day job, she is a social worker at a hospital in New York City. So I thought our kids would be excited about that and getting to see the pictures of her competitions. Yeah, so it's super fun. All right, and other stuff, other than people coming up to me and telling me how happy they are to work here, it's been a good time.
Just a couple of things. Number one, I've attended 4 of the 6 back to school nights. Miss Alderman had to attend one of them. There was 2 on one night, and another one I had a meeting in South Salinas. So much along with what Mr. Patel said, really well attended, very positive. You know, went to GV's last week, great turnout, a lot of parents there who I recognized, who, you know, have been coming for the last 2 years. The other thing is just, you know, just when I'm making all my site visits, I've been in every classroom in the district in August. You know, and just, you know, part of my goal was to be in there. I'm seeing really the students are engaged, teachers are really, you know, focused and putting forth a great effort. And the campuses are just, it's like mid-year. I mean, I was on some of these sites within 2 or 3 days, and it felt like it was January or February. That's how well they were running. I've been in all of the kitchens now, and those things are running very smoothly. The food looks really, it's excellent. They're having chicken and waffles tomorrow. But I might have to visit somewhere. And then they have pork sliders today. So Chuck is doing a great job taking good food out to the sites, and we're just gonna keep moving on. And I just passed down for your, just so you know, we scheduled them so we'll have 1 a month, and they're all scheduled for the whole year. So we'll do the 2 middle schools 3 times, and then we'll do each of the elementary schools once. Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. So we are at 5.5, receive hearings of individuals desiring to address the board on items not on the agenda. Anyone? Seeing that. We are moving forward, and as I mentioned earlier, we're gonna skip to 10.0 or 10.1 to approve resolution 19.08.10, committing to move to by trustee area election method in compliance with the California Voting Rights Act of 2001. And I'm gonna let Mr. Ryan take over.
Yeah, we, Devin Lincoln came last board meeting and explained, this is a way for us to make a commitment to this change. But we can wait now until the 2020 census takes place, because if we do it now, we would have to wait and do it again at an exorbitant cost. So this is our way of declaring our commitment to move forward in compliance with the Voting Rights Act. But it gives us a reprieve till we can wait until the most recent date is available, so we make the right decisions with our representation. So that's what this is for, and it's just, it's one of the things, I know Mr. Patel brought it up in June or May, and as soon as I met with Lou Lozano and we worked through it, we had this language put together, and there's other districts that are doing it as well, and this is what they recommend for us to do it, to make sure we're compliant with the Voting Rights Act, but still be good stewards with the district's funds, so we don't spend twice to do the same things.
Mr. Patel, did you have any questions? We did talk about it last week. So.
No, I just wanna, for a couple of things, I just wanna thank the board very much, each and every one of you, for moving forward with this initiative. I think it's time. I think we need a better representation for a district based on various other factors. And I think we have unique areas in our district. We have Bolsa Nuevo, Santa Rita, we have Arden, and I think as our district grows in the future, I think this is something that will bring more equal representation. And I think for all of us and for our community's sake, I'm glad that we're initiating it now and letting the public know that, hey, we are going to do this after the census. So I just want to say thank you to the board once again. It's a big deal, and for us to do it now, I just want to say thank you.
No, I'm very much in favor of it, but I did appreciate Ms. Lincoln's presentation last week in terms of I don't want to spend all the money to do it now, and then we have to spend all the money to redraw it, in a year from now. It makes sense to me to wait until after the census, which I'm so glad we have people doing their research out there to, do it right the first time.
So if we have a vacancy before the 2020 election, which is a possibility, will it just get filled
That'll still be
at large?
But that'll still be an appointee.
Well, I know it's an appointee,
But yeah, that'll still be at large, and then after it'll, we're gonna need.
And then the person has to run again
They'll
in
have to.
2020 if they want to keep the.
Say if they want to, and our 2020 election, which will be me and Mr. Patel, will still be running at large at that point. It'll be the 2022 election that will go to, those 3 seats will be district. And that was, Michelle, that was a question I asked Ms. Lincoln last week, that I was like, what if we go to, at large, like if someone's in the middle of their term, and she said nobody loses their seat, that you get to
Finish it up.
you get to finish it out.
No,
and then,
I think that was the intent all along, and I'm glad that we have clarification. And once again, I'm thankful for the board support.
Any other last questions? Okay, can I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This is 5-0.
Yes, sir.
I can go ahead and just go over this. The 2 personnel items are just, the one's the annual declaration. We could actually go that consent item for 7.1. And then the second one, 7.2, is just to, it's not just a sort of ratification of a contract with Marilyn Cook for interim.
Okay, can I have a motion on 7.1 to consider approval of the annual declaration of need for fully qualified educators?
You want 7.1 and 7.2 together?
No.
No,
I was just giving you the information.
Sorry, just because they're not related to one another.
Motion to approve 7.1?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
650. Okay, 7.2, consider approval of temporary contract for interim director of human resources.
I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. 650. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I don't know if congratulations, but we're happy you're here.
Congratulations for us.
Make it official.
Okay, so, 8.1, approve resolution 19.08.81 regarding sufficiency of instructional materials.
This is just our annual item for indicating which our curriculum are and that we have sufficiency of materials at all of our sites for all of our students.
Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve 8.1?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Okay. 8.2, approve cessation of disposal of Chromebooks that are operational through gifting to 8th grade students.
Last time I brought this to you as an informational item, which is the same format that we used when we adopted the process originally a couple of years back. As I mentioned before, in the spring of 2017, we implemented the planned disposal of Chromebooks that were aging out. And at the time, the high school district did not offer devices to their students. And at this time, all of our devices in circulation at Olson Mills Middle School and Gatlin View Middle School have a remaining life cycle of 3 to 6 years after this school year. And replacing the 6th grade Chromebooks annually is costing, well, this year it costs $201,000 to do that, $201,000. And so the local high school district also provides devices now. We saw an uptick of families who sold the Chromebooks after the school year, which it's their right to do so after we give them to them. But we're just being economically sound and knowing that our devices still have that much of a life cycle. We'd like to present to stop.
Any more questions?
More information there. When we first did this, I think the assumptions were exactly what you were saying, but in our district, in the high school district, what's happening is that the students are given a new Chromebook when they start freshman year. And that is their Chromebook for 4 years straight. So once I heard that and I've seen it in action, coming back to our current policy, I think this is the wisest thing to do because of the fact that we are going to get a new one. And the idea that the high schools can have their students keep it for 4 years, then certainly we can have ours keep our 3rd years and bring it back for that 4th and 5th year. So.
No, I think, we talked about it last week that we were providing them access before when the families didn't have access when the kids went to high school. That's no longer the case. So to me, it seems reasonable to end the program because it's not the same situation.
No,
that
I think
we were in.
circumstances have certainly changed.
Any other comments? Any comments from public?
It's either or.
Yeah. Okay. All right, then can I have a motion?
I have a motion to approve. So
No, go ahead.
I just said I have a motion to approve. Go ahead. Mary seconds.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Okay. 8.3, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services will present information regarding the Santa Rita Math Improvement Plan.
So what I have for you is just a draft of our SRUSD Math Improvement Plan. This is a document that I consider changeable. It's a living document because as we set our short-term goals and meet them, we would want to adjust those. But I wanted to give you an idea of the detail work that will go into this. My proposal is to make sort of a subset of what we normally present as curriculum council with a focus on math instructional leadership team and pull from teachers and administrators to help flesh out this plan. And so on the front, you really see laying out what, and there are blanks there because a math improvement plan, I think, takes the input of our math teachers and our administrators at our campuses to make it effective. So as we set out what our long-term goals are, essential questions that we can ask to help build that timeline, usually like a 3-year timeline for our long-term goal, what our end result is after we take these incremental steps. Different performance milestones, things that we'll concentrate on as we build this plan. And then I went ahead and I did begin filling this out with actions that we already have in place, starting this fall and moving into spring that I know that we'll be doing. And as we convene our math instruction team, or our math improvement team, we will keep building steps in this, and I want to be able to present this data to you regularly as these goals shift and change when we meet our milestones on our path to what our long-term goals are. And so my next goal would be to show you this again after we have what our 3-year plan is, what our end goal is, get your feedback and your input on what the teachers and I and the administrators craft. There's a section for things that teachers will be doing. There's a section for things administrators will be doing, as well as the financial resources that we'll access to accomplish these goals. I think it's really important for us to do this at this time. One, I think bringing in teachers and administrators and staff when formulating a plan like this is so important to have buy-in and to be able to really calibrate what our focus is district-wide. And then to give us some measurable goals that we can all look at how we achieve that, how we measure that, and really change our focus on math instruction around that. But I wanted to share this information with you so you know sort of how we're going to map this out and where we're heading with our math initiative that we want to get onto. Any questions?
You know, I'm actually impressed here because what I'm seeing is a lot of collaboration, a lot of DLC time, a lot of teachers working together to address the actual conditions that they're facing and how to get to a goal there. So, you know, there's certain strategies you're going to get. Are teachers allowed to collaborate in the sense of observing each other in classroom for best practices? You know, it's just a common thing, and having them feel more comfortable with working with each other.
In fact, all 6 sites this year are making a concerted effort to allow time for that observation, that mentoring, modeling, learning walks, things like that. So all 6 principals created a goal, and that's been one of the beginning activities that they're putting in place with their TOSAs and their vice principals at the middle school. And it's really built around each teacher's needs. And then which teachers do you have that are really knocking it out of the park, and different things that you can hook them up with to sort of build that mentorship and that ongoing coaching.
But if we could, Melissa, could you just touch on, when we talk about the PLCs at the sites, but could you talk about the principals PLCs that we developed this year?
Yes.
Is it something that's new?
We did. We changed up how we meet on Tuesdays with principals. And in fact, it's really to generate their capacity as site instructional leaders. And so I think that's really important for them to be able to meet as a PLC, to talk about topics that are pressing at their site around instruction, as well as, you know, site management. And then once a month, they have a guided meeting with Denise Green with their PLC to really help us firm up their math goal and their site plans. So there's a section in here for each that we'll build for each site. So you'll get that sort of individual piece that each site's doing. as well. And then we have our just sort of monthly rundown informational meeting. And
It's our nuts and bolts.
our nuts and bolts meeting. And so just sort of honoring the principal's role as being site instructional leader and in that district initiative, and then how they implement that at their site, because we know each site is individual in a lot of ways, and so you really have to tackle that.
Yeah.
And so the principals are really formulating goals and plans of things that they want to achieve, and working together and collaboratively in a different way around having a goal than they have in the past.
Well, when Melissa and I first started kicking this idea around, we were saying, okay, we talked about instructional leadership. And I said, I asked Melissa, how much time do these principals really get to discuss with peer group instructional leadership? What does that look like on their side? How can that, and the answer was they really don't have any time. Before, it was every Tuesday we met here, we talked about stuff, and then they went back. And I said, what if we were to do something just like, kind of like what we do with the teachers only at the principal level, which is give them 2 of the 4 weeks a month just for them, where they're not involved with us in any way. It was strictly a principal level PLC. The math coach that they're working with she's not reporting to us. That's strictly their time that they get to spend. It's the cone of silence, kind of Las Vegas rules. And then at the end of the year, they'll present to us, here's what my goals were, and here's where I fell out on it. It takes all the anxiety out of it and gives them a chance to take risks and grow, because as I said from the very beginning, our vision this year is Santa Rita School District where we all learn and grow. Well, they can't learn and grow if they don't know that we trust them to learn and grow. So we're taking the hands off of them. The training wheels are off. We're going to let them go. And if they crash, we'll be there to pick them up and get them off again. But we were determined. One of the first things they did was they went as a group to La Mesa Elementary School, which is a school that has high achievement and has grown steadily over the last 4 years. And they went with just the 6 of them. The four elementary, that's right. And then the 2 middle school principals, then we kept them and did the work with what did we do that day? We did middle school.
With MCOE.
With MCOE, with Denise, that's right. So they're on their way. So 2 of the 4 weeks are their time that they're going to get to. So it goes along with what Neil was talking about, that collaboration time. And it's all about, and 2 of those, one of them is about math, the other one's about leadership, and just in general, what that looks like on their campus. So we're excited about it. I mean, I'm anxious to see what they come up with, because when you give people the chance to be creative and take the anxiety of the superintendent watching everything, I think the growth is going to be even more exponential than it would be if I'm there all the time. Not that I'm not curious, and I don't care, but I'm going to trust them to do great things this year. And so far, it looks like it's paying off. So, but that was a big part of this whole improvement, was to trust people, just like they're going to trust their staff. We're going to trust them, and that trust is going to be the framework and the foundation of this, of where we all learn and grow vision that we created together at the beginning of the year. So, you have anything to add to that?
Oh, I didn't know I was allowed that.
For sure.
We did one the other day, and I just, in short, what was fascinating is the time was spent not talking at each other, it's talking with each other, kind of in a summary. And it's really kind of, just vertical collaboration about math and horizontal collaboration about math with the feeder schools, or your sharing schools. So it's, at first it's like hesitant, but then when you realize you're talking with each other about where we're going, and it's, there's days where you just like in any meeting, you gotta give them the information. But it was just, I was typing, I was sending emails left and right, because I was like, I gotta get this idea to these people now. So it was really fascinating. My mind's still spinning from the first one.
Anyway, that's all part of this plan as well, but in not just math, but everything. But it's a component of all of them. So
Couple questions and comments. I mean, the first question, I'm interested to see what the different groups come up with, but I'm specifically, are there things that we can provide to them to make their job easier? And just to give an example, I know from conversations that Brenda Burr and I had had in the past, she told me that when the kids would take the AR360 test, that she felt like the data was very accurate in terms of their level, but she felt like on the language arts side, that it was really helpful in being prescriptive. Like she could figure out what to do with the kids to raise the scores, where she said the math data, the green, the yellow, the blue, it was correct, but she didn't have anywhere to go from that because she didn't know why, that it was green or yellow or blue. So is there something that we can find that can help the teachers to be able to analyze better, hey, why is this child in the red? What is it they need to be more successful?
So actually, whenever I first thought of having a math improvement team, Brenda Burr is who I sent a question to, saying, I want your opinion on this. And she gave me her opinion. It was amazing. And I said, yes, this is everything that I want this group to be able to do. And so one of the things that you see on the suggested is we need to review what our benchmarks are. What data are they providing? Are they the right tool for that? We just had a meeting with her that she stayed later just to talk to Nicole and I, but it's that kind of process of building those conversations around, so what would work better? And now let's go identify a possibility and let's try that. So like we have Star 360, we have Freckle now. There are other things out there that may be more appropriate. But it's really about sort of setting that safe environment and having those conversations about what are your needs, and then let's go find that tool that does that, and get it in there. And so part of our short-term goals would be doing things like that. So if middle school determines that the Star 360 for math isn't appropriate, and we need to go find another benchmark, that we can dig in and do those investigations based around what are the feedback that they're getting, what are the issues with the data, how can we find the right tool that shows us what we need, and then how do we roll that out and make a plan together with that teacher input, because they know the time constraints. They know, the issues with bringing something in, replacing something, and so we can set it in motion in a way that it's gonna roll out successfully. So that's part of it, yeah.
I have one question. What are we doing after school for the students, especially in math, and support additional learning opportunities, extended learning? I mean, just, I'm sorry, I pretty general question, I know, but I did.
So this year, in order to really help the sites with their after-school interventions, and as well as advanced project-based learning things that are happening at schools, we added a fifth LCAP-funded stipend for after school. So La Jolla is doing some of theirs before school, which is always an option. That's what works best for their students. So they're doing, they have some of their money allocated for before school. And so each school has their math goal and building their plan around their after school tutoring with not just a reading focus, but building in strategic math intervention. I know McKinnon, they started that first. The teachers were super excited to get that in place. They actually started planning their math intervention last spring to start in the fall. And so each site, including middle schools, has access to that funding to build their program. And always one of the things was, and how can you meet the needs of your advanced learners? Not just as tutors, tutoring other students, but how can you meet their acceleration needs while you're also meeting the intervention needs of your other students? And so we've got some pretty creative ideas coming out of all 6 sites on how to do that.
I would love to see that come to fruition now. I really would. I think that the more opportunities to provide, maybe even nutrition as well, depending on the number of students.
When do you anticipate getting the data from the
For our SBAC, our official data. So, they had it up for a review period. It's down now. So they estimate another couple weeks, then they'll put it up for another second review period. Then they'll take it down for another data correction window. And they haven't given us a timeline on when the final unembargoed report will be available. So I did share that I had done the rough math on it for our ELA rate of students who were at or above on the SBAC, coming about 40%, and then our math going up 1% to 22, and that matched what we saw in that preliminary data. And so I will keep you posted as CDE moves forward in their timeline.
Okay. And just last thing about math, you know, I'm excited again, as I said, to see what comes forward, but I also feel like in order for us to be successful, we're gonna have to drill down to really what's the most important at every grade level, because there's still way too many standards, and some of them are essential in life and some are not. And Mr. Ryan and I were talking about the difference between curriculum and standards earlier today, and figuring out, hey, there's a piece of this curriculum, yes, it's related to a standard, that's not, you know, a moneymaker for us. Like, where do we want to be spending our time to build proficiency for life?
Why don't you share with them the TOSAs that you guys are developing as far as the standards, wanting to shift from a curriculum?
So
mindset?
what we're looking at doing, and I can't take full credit for this because Tim was in on the original conversation, sort of really building the idea and the mindset that you teach your students with fidelity. And then you teach the standards with rigor. Your curriculum is just simply a tool that is at your fingertips easily, right? And so working with the TOSAs, and I have to give Nicole Jensen a lot of credit for this, putting together binders with standards and instructional practices that people can take notes in, that we can, in a way, it's like going back to the basics of drilling down and what are the essential standards in here, identifying it. Then how do they do that? Backwards alignment, talk to other grade levels, build that. Working on with the TOSAs, talking about when you're doing a professional development on how to build a lesson or things like that. Don't start with the lesson in the textbook. Start with the standard and say, okay, to teach the standard, this is the resource I'm going to use to do that. What happens is when you get in that mindset of teaching curriculum with fidelity, you lose sight of the standard and you get lockstep into what the curriculum is, when it's really about what's the best resource to teach this standard to each kid, right? Because I'm teaching each child with fidelity. And so just sort of the inroads we can make with making that shift. And doing some concerted efforts, some coaching, some modeling, how to build a lesson that way. And we have our curriculum, it's available, it's good, it's why we adopted it. But the notion that if you focus on the standard, it'll help you differentiate for each of the students that you need to meet their needs. Because sometimes you need to find another resource to do that with that child in particular. So we're getting back to basics, but digging in a little deeper with it.
We're really, it's changing our mindset from curriculum, because our focus is on curriculum, we're changing our focus to students. And then here's a standard, how do we get it to those students? You know, No Child Left Behind created this, I call it post-traumatic stress disorder from No Child Left Behind, where teachers, you walk into a classroom and one third grade teacher is teaching a lesson on a certain page on the day, and you walk into the next classroom and they're doing. I walked through a few classrooms 2 weeks ago and saw that, where they're still doing that, and that was the way. That was the fidelity to the curriculum, right? It was, we're on this page this day and this page this day. I said, you know, and I gave the analogy, you'll like this, you know, because it's a golf analogy. I said, you know, you ask somebody to go out, and I went to the superintendent's golf scramble. And there's 4 of us, and we all get out, and we're on a par 3, 150 yards. Well, I go and I pull out a 7-iron. But this young guy, who's 28 years old, he pulls out a wedge or a 9-iron. And this older guy has a fairway hybrid. We all pulled out a different club, but we all have the same objective. The same thing is that we're going to get to that hole as quick as we can and get in. And it didn't make sense for all of us to use the same club because I can't swing a 9-iron like that young guy can. And, you know, I don't have fairway whips or fairway hybrids because I can't afford them. So, you know, but it's about understanding who you are and what your strengths are, and then teaching with your strengths and then using that, you know, for the students. And, you know, Eureka Math is one club. It's a good club, but you can't do the whole course with one club. You have to be willing to use that club when it works, use other clubs when they work, because our fidelity is to reaching our objective. It's not in using that one club. And that's where we're changing that kind of fixed mindset. It's that no child left behind trauma that we're still dealing with. So,
No, I absolutely agree. I think if we really look at the Common Core model, it's about multifaceted approach to a given goal.
mhm.
You know, especially with math, et cetera, right? So if we're expecting that of the students, and I think obviously, you know, we need to start thinking of that as teachers as well.
All of us.
Yeah.
We're all here to learn and grow.
Yeah, I did. First of all, I like what I'm hearing. And I heard project-based learning, which is fantastic, great. I also heard, which that was the original, where I was gonna tell you that I heard you say talking with other grade levels. And that's what, when I was a teacher, I was a 4th grade teacher. It was the cross-grade articulation that really helped me know what does the 3rd grade, or the 3rd grade was asking us, what is it that they need to get them to 4th? And 5th grade was talking to us about what do they need, you know, to get to 5th grade. So that cross articulation, I hope, takes place.
That's super powerful. We just had Brenda Burritt just hang out. We showed her one of the binders and we got to talking to her, and then we said, for whatever way it happened, we said, yeah, we should put the 7th and the 6th grade standards in there for you too. And then well, do you want the 9th grade standards too? And then the conversation just sort of blossomed from there, because that's one of the things that I really hope. Now, see, I know cross-curricular because I was an English teacher and I did that. So when you do that backwards alignment,
Exactly.
so powerful, because it really helps you find and you can find weaknesses in your curriculum where you're like, I need you to know this, and I don't think this is quite getting it done. So I'm gonna need to have you know this before you move on to 9th grade, things like that. But it also helps you find those standards that maybe aren't as important as some of your other like guiding standards that you're like, these are the targets that we really have to hit. And having those conversations with your grade, your vertical teams like that, so powerful. So I'm really hoping.
So I'm hoping to see that in the PLCs on Wednesdays.
Yeah, you know, I just want to add on to what you're saying here. I'm focused about the focus from 5th to 6th.
Exactly.
And
So are they meeting and collaborating?
Yeah.
So that's what teachers want this year. So there were a couple of requests when we were gonna do the weekly PLCs. One is they'd like a couple of days designated for grade level across the district. So all of 4th grade can meet together. And then
Good.
time to do vertical meetings up and down with their colleagues. And for instance, 5th grade in particular feeding into 6th grade, being able to have those meetings, especially with their feeder sites. And so working with principals to make sure that time and space is dedicated for those, that people are able to do that. So we talked about at least once a trimester, having the grade level meetings. And then the other is building in the time and the space for the vertical alignment within your school and then with your feeder school for elementary and middle.
Sounds like a very good plan.
Thank you for all of your hard work. And then informational items. Like, oh, I don't have that. Okay, so going on to 9.1, conduct a first reading for an amended version of Administrative Regulation 5113 concerning excused absences.
So this came about because when we did our global adoption, one of the things that 5113 has in it is a paragraph that says after so many excused absences, the parents will need to produce a doctor's note to excuse it. So it's one of those things where we're trying to address the 25 to 30 excused absence students a year, because that's lost instruction, just like unexcused. They don't miss more instruction because it's unexcused. They miss the same amount of instruction. So what the prior regulation said, and I checked with Mr. Lozano to find out if it was still fine, and he said yes, is the 14 days. So at the end of 14 days, on the 15th day of excused absences, we can require them to submit a doctor's note, and also 3 days. So after 2 days, on the third day in a row, consecutive days, that third consecutive day, we can require a doctor's note. So the amendment to this is that it's amending the existing administrative reg to set a limit on excused absences at 14. Anything over that, it'll be unexcused without a doctor's note, and then also to set 3 consecutive days. And after the second consecutive day, they need a doctor's note for the third day. And that's what this amendment to this administrative reg does. It just helps provide some clarity on our attendance improvement measures that we're taking.
Motion to approve.
Sorry,
This is the first reading, right?
It is the first reading.
We'll put it back on next time. You
And,
can make a motion to put it on the next agenda.
I'd be interested in adding something to this,
Okay.
in terms of for children who have chronic conditions, like I even had a child who had chronic allergies. The mother brought her as best as she could. You know, I don't want that person having to go to the doctor
That
every
makes sense.
time, you know.
There's an allowance
Okay.
for either the superintendent or the site administrator to make an exception based on health concerns.
Okay, just.
As long as we have evidence. If they-
Right, as
you know, if
long
we have
as
a-
it's something,
a HIPAA waiver or
something
something,
known, yeah,
then-
okay,
then we
just,
can
I
waive
just
it.
wanna make sure that that was in there.
Yep, absolutely. This is for the ones that just.
Oh, yeah,
they're
no,
absent
they
and
were
call,
sick,
"Oh,
really,
they
what
did
did
drugs,
you
they
do? We
were
play
down."
video games all day,
That's what,
yeah.
it's not for you. The chronic illness and the chronic health conditions are.
Fourth day, I cannot come, or fourth night.
Mary, I'm sorry, you had a question?
Well, I do have a concern where it says if a student is absent for 3 days, they have to provide a doctor's note. What if they're not ill, they're not hurt, but there's another reason? Let's say they're out of town for a funeral or.
Those are all excused. Those are, and that's in a different section, but the ed code describes or says what excused absences are and what they're not. So those funeral, out of state, 3 to 5 days. There's also, military, if you have a father or a mother that's in the military, they're getting ready to deploy, you can have missed days for that. So we rely on the ed code for those issues. So we're staying within the ed code. We're not going outside of that.
Okay, that's good, that makes sense to me.
Yep.
Because I was concerned we were trying to override that code.
No, in fact, and there's always the exemption that the superintendent or designee, the principal can, under unique circumstances, go ahead and give a waiver.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, do we need a motion on this?
Just to put it on the net, just for a second reading and adoption is done.
Well, no, if it's a reading, we don't motion, right?
No, just directly to put it on for,
Yeah,
For
that's why I was
second
correcting
reading.
myself, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So it's a reading, like, okay.
I directed.
say it. Say it.
Mr. Ryan, please put this on the next.
You're directing me.
I am directing you
I'm okay with that.
to
I'm a former Marine, I take orders.
place this on
Okay, you got it.
the next.
On that same note, did you guys see, well, I don't know if this is the right place to say it, but where the high school, is it the high schools or it's even the elementary schools where kids, if a law has passed in some state that they could actually not be at school for a couple of days because they were mentally not prepared for school and they had issues.
Oh,
Yeah, there was a school district
Yeah,
that
yeah.
passed that, I said, oh, really?
And I'm like, wow.
I'd like to declare
I-
it.
Yeah.
That's one of those days.
Yeah. No, okay.
I'm gonna call you next week. No.
Yeah, I just don't think my mind's in the right place.
There you go.
Okay, so going on to 9.2, conduct a first reading for BPAR 5113.12 for the Santa Rita Union School District to establish a student attendance review board to assist parents in improving their child's attendance.
So let me give you this is kind of, it's an excessive measure, but I want to get it. We did not have one of these in our global adoption. Now, we have an MOU with the district attorney's office to have truancy abatement through their office. That MOU precludes us from having a SARB, but we don't have a board policy in place where if we ever decide to, we would, create a SARB. So this is just simply a policy that I'm asking us to adopt in case we ever decide to move away from the truancy abatement and do it ourselves, because we don't have a policy that we can do that with. So it's just simply it's a policy for us to give us a fallback if something doesn't work with the
Right.
truancy abatement.
And the DA may decide at some point they don't want to
Or
do
they
that.
can't fund it
Right,
anymore
so-
because those
correct.
decisions. So it's a precautionary measure.
Any other questions? Okay, so
You're gonna
I'm
direct
gonna direct you to place this, the establishment of the SAR board item on the next agenda. Thank you. Okay. So we did 10.1 earlier, so I am now at the point of asking if there's anything that the board would request to be agendized for further meetings? No? Okay. Oh, okay, and thank you. We have clarification that the Gavelin View Taco fundraiser will be in the month of September, and then there's going to be a separate dinner.
The dinner pickup is on October 1st.
Dinner pickup is on October 4th for Tacos at GD, right, where they do it picking up after.
Now, I'm not asking for any special treatment, but
I will let her know you will.
I just want frontline privilege, that's all I'm asking. Hey, calm down now, come on, just 5 of us.
Just like
come
picture
on
day,
now.
just like picture.
Maybe 6. Is that too much to ask?
Just tell her that's what's
That's
happening.
what I did.
But we'll have a taco minimum, how's that?
And a personal cell for you.
Maybe 20.
No, I did not close.
I'll tell her you've got 20 and you'll need a front line to help get them picked up.
Okay, well, now that we've dealt with tacos, which is very important, I'm officially closing the meeting at 7:05, so thank you, everybody.
Neil, I heard that you are the police